All right, let's dive into something really powerful. We're going to unpack a framework for building a good life. But forget all the abstract, philosophical stuff for a minute. This is all about the practical tools, the mechanics of it all. Think of it as a real blueprint, not just a nice idea. So here's a big question, one I think we all ask ourselves at some point. What does a fulfilling life actually look like? You know that deep pull we all feel towards something more, something meaningful? But actually getting there, yeah, that path can feel super vague, right? Well, our whole goal here is to change that. We're going to make that path clear, practical, and something you can actually do. That search for fulfillment is universal. It's a deep human need. But instead of getting lost in theory, we're going to focus on a concrete solution, a framework that's really designed to turn that vague feeling of I want more into a clear path forward. And here it is. This is the solution we'll be exploring, the 8 Essentials Framework. Think of it as our roadmap. And notice the language here, action-oriented, mechanics. This isn't just about thinking differently, it's about having a toolkit to actually do things differently. Okay, so before you can build anything that lasts, you need a solid foundation, right? You need good ground to stand on. And that's exactly where this framework begins. The first 2 steps are all about creating that stable base for the entire journey. Okay, so how do we build this foundation? Well, first things first is step 1, emotional regulation. And believe me, this is the starting point for a very good reason. I mean, think about it. You can't plan your future or see your life clearly if your emotions are just running the show, right? If you're constantly in crisis mode. The whole idea is to train yourself to face those challenges with a clear head, with all your faculties online. Then, and only then, can you really move on to step 2, which is charting out your life story. And here's the core idea behind that life story chart. You've got to look at your own history with some objectivity. The slide puts it perfectly. It's like you're watching a movie. You can see the main character's plot points, their challenges, their wins, except that character is you. It's that little bit of distance that lets the real insights come through. And here's what that looks like in practice. This isn't about writing some long, complicated diary. It's a simple, visual timeline. You literally plot out the big moments, the highs, the lows, the major turning points. This simple act takes that abstract idea of your life story and makes it real, something tangible you can look at. And suddenly you start to see the patterns. So once you have that objective story laid out in front of you, we get to one of the coolest, most innovative parts of this whole framework. We're moving from your story to your identity. And the key word here really is discovering. This isn't about guessing who you are. It's about figuring it out based on the evidence of your own life. And this is the game changer right here. It's a total flip in perspective. See, most of us do it the old way. We come up with some idea of who we think we should be, and then we try to kind of force our life story to match that guess. But this framework, it does the exact opposite. It says, nope, first, let's look at the actual data, your life story, the facts. And from that evidence, we derive who you really are. So, how does that discovery actually work? Well, in step 3, you analyze that timeline and you systematically pull out your true values, beliefs, and strengths, the ones you've actually lived out. And then, once you have that authentic identity, step 4 just emerges, your purpose. And we're not talking about some grand, abstract ideal. It's a purpose that's grounded in how you can realistically and meaningfully impact your world and the people you care about. So we've laid the foundation, and we've uncovered our authentic identity and purpose. That self-knowledge is incredibly powerful, but it's not enough on its own. Now we get to the next chapter, turning all that discovery into concrete action. This is where we get into the real nuts and bolts of making change happen. These next 3 steps, this is the engine room of the whole framework. Step 5 is the intentional plan, where you're not just letting life happen to you, you're actively designing your next chapter. Then, in step 6, you turn that design into a real pathway with specific goals. And these aren't just random goals, they're a checklist that lines up perfectly with the identity you just uncovered. Finally, step 7 is all about the mechanics of change, the daily grind of building the habits that support your plan and breaking the ones that don't. Okay, we've made it to the final piece of the framework, and this is the step that really makes all the other work stick. It's what ensures this becomes permanent. It's about moving from just doing the work to truly living the philosophy. And how you do that? Well, it might just surprise you. And that brings us to the final step, step 8. And honestly, this one is pretty profound.
The idea is if you really want to internalize all of this, to make it a permanent part of your personal operating system, you have to teach it. Yeah, you heard that right. You share what you've learned with your tribe, with the people you care about. Why? Because, as it turns out, the absolute best way to learn something, to really master it, is to teach it to someone else. It just cements the whole philosophy for you.
And just to show you this isn't all just theory, the author of this framework makes a direct personal invitation. This literally changes everything from passive information into a real hands-on opportunity. It's a chance to connect and get practical help applying these steps, moving it from just a good idea to a real possibility for your own life. And so here we are, right back where we started, but with a totally new lens. We began by asking what a fulfilling life looks like, but now with a practical, action-oriented framework in hand, the real question isn't what it looks like anymore. It's what are you gonna do with it? What is the story you are now going to intentionally write for your next chapter?